Howdy everyone! About 3.5 years ago now, I made a special video which ended up going kinda viral about my 10 favourite camera lenses of all time in order to celebrate having tested 277 of them up to that point. A nice round number, I know. Well, now it's 2023 and somehow I've tested twice as many lenses as that again, 554, and I'm still not sick of reviewing them. I'm still as in love with photography and optics as I ever was before. So here are 10 more camera lenses I have fallen in love with since making that original video. Those last 10 will always have a place in my heart, so I'm not going to be tweaking that old list. Here are 10 new lovable lenses for all of you. As before, the lenses I'm about to show you are not necessarily perfect. They're not always the sharpest lenses available. A lot of them aren't in most people's price range of reasonable affordability, especially not my own. They're not lenses that are necessarily right for you, they are just lenses that I tried out and simply couldn't put down, and felt particularly sad about sending them back to wherever I found them. So another very simple video really. I'm presenting them in order of their release dates, and a link to the original video is down in the description below, as well as all kinds of other links to full reviews, affiliate links and so on. First up, the Canon EF 200mm f2 L IS USM. Although I only reviewed it a couple of years ago, this is the oldest lens on the list, and in a travesty of justice, it's even been discontinued by Canon. No! Because the kind of pictures this lens can get you jump out astonishingly from the crowd, not only in sharpness, not only in narrow depth of field, but also in fast shutter speeds. This is an excellent lens for sports photography, especially indoors, where that maximum aperture of f2 really can get you some nice snappy images, as well as out of focus backgrounds. This is one of the best lenses ever made for long portrait photography though, as well as event and wedding photography. What a beast, pure and simple. Just look at those gorgeous out of focus backgrounds with lovely strong compression from that 200mm focal length. Fun, fun, fun. But if you want stunning out of focus backgrounds which are a bit more involved in your images, a bit wider angle, not quite so compressed, then those people desperate for quality need look no further than the incredible yet cripplingly expensive Nikon Z 58mm f/0.95 S Noct. I couldn't quite believe Nikon trusted me enough to let me borrow this $8,000 lens from them for testing. I must be doing something right here on YouTube, I guess. Due to its extremely bright aperture of f/0.95 combined with unbelievably high image resolution, this lens truly is der König der Nacht, the king of the night, and if you use it on a camera with in-body stabilization, then it becomes the best low-light lens available in the world today. If you haven't seen my review of this lens already, then you simply must watch it. The only thing as incredible as its low light ability is its jaw-dropping sharpness, as well as its incredibly high price. And the only thing irritating about this lens is that it is manual focus only, a huge shame. Although any photographer who's used to manual focus will really have no problems here, I found it surprisingly easy to handle. Next, the Canon RF 85mm f1.2 L USM DS. What could be better than a portrait lens with a maximum aperture as bright as f1.2? What could possibly make your backgrounds look even more beautiful? A special edition version with an apodization filter, of course, or more correctly, as Canon call it, vapor deposited edge graduated neutral density filter coatings to further soften blur circle edges at f1.2. This special feature of the DS version of this incredible portrait lens causes your out of focus backgrounds to look perfectly, wonderfully smooth. That's why the DS stands for defocus smoothing. There's nothing else quite like it. Just look at those gorgeous images. This would probably be one of the best wedding photography lenses money could buy, if I could ever afford it. Out of all the lenses in this new list, this is the one I'd truly love to have the most, I think. The defocus smoothing effect is only effective at the lens's brightest apertures, and also it reduces the amount of light reaching your camera's sensor by a little over a stop when you're shooting at bright apertures, so it's not quite as good as its non-DS brother for shooting in the dark. But am I bothered? Absolutely not. Just pick a higher ISO setting on your camera and shoot away to your heart's content, because this is the smoothest looking bokeh available on any camera lens today. Let's take a look at something a bit more affordable now, although still admittedly on the pricey side of things. I've always been a big fan of Sigma's I series of lenses because they have the best build quality of any autofocus lens available today. Just feeling this thing in your hand is addictively good, and it looks so sophisticated and feels so solid, and as for its optics, this is probably the sharpest and most creatively capable of the whole series. 65mm is an interesting little focal length, nice for portraits but not too tight, and I do like trying something new once in a while. The utterly ridiculous sharpness of its full-frame images straight from f2 make this one of the most satisfying camera lenses to use that you could possibly imagine. Just gorgeous. Next up, the Voigtländer 35mm f2 APO Lanthar. Not only is this lens unbelievably sharp, with images full of character and especially high sharpness and low colour fringing, but it's one of the most lovely handling manual focus lenses I've ever even touched. Sometimes a lens just takes your breath away by its beautiful build quality, and this is certainly one of those, and that quality makes it fun to use, as well as being an outright resolution monster. I was so pleased with the quality in the sample pictures I got from this wide-angle lens. It's just a huge pleasure to use while wielding some serious optical results. This is a compact little manual focus lens you could really come to cherish if you want to slow down and shoot manually, although its very high price is not easy to swallow. Next, it has to be the fabulous Viltrox AF 13mm f1.4. It's an APS-C autofocus camera lens available for various systems, which just so happens to have my favourite combination of parameters, an ultra-wide angle and an extremely bright maximum aperture for a bit of astrophotography and some creative use of narrow depth of field. Lenses like these are just ridiculously useful both for stills and video work. What I was pleasantly surprised to see when I tested it was that it's sharp too. I actually ended up testing it on 3 different camera mounts as I was having so much fun with it, and Viltrox seemed to keep tweaking it. The Nikon Z version I particularly liked for its neat blue weather sealing gasket. Combined with nice build quality and a very reasonable price, this lens is an absolute winner, and it makes me happy just to know that these things are in our world today at affordable prices. Up next, the first of 2 super telephoto lenses on this list. I'm absolutely crazy about wildlife photography, particularly catching pictures of birds, and the longer your telephoto lens, the better for that. Well, nothing else commercially available today gets you longer than this incredible Canon lens, and few lenses are as astonishingly expensive either. But the reason I gave it a glowing review wasn't just because I was trying to get people to buy one using my affiliate links, although that would have been quite nice. I genuinely loved every second of working with this thing, chiefly because its weight of a little over 3 kilograms and its excellent image stabilization and autofocus made capturing pictures of birds and other wildlife an experience like no other. This is simply the best and most enjoyable camera lens in the world for bird photography, and it's quite a privilege that I was able just to try it for a couple of weeks. You'll need to kiss your college fund goodbye if you want to buy one though, so this really is only for those who'll get some serious use out of it. Talking about super telephoto lenses, here's one that's quite a bit more affordable, if still beyond my own credit card limit. Nikon did something wonderful with this 800mm lens, which helps to explain why it's been back ordered for months and months now. By using Fresnel optics in one of the internal glass elements, they've actually made it smaller than usual for an 800mm lens and much lighter. This thing weighs 2.4 kilograms, which is half the weight of its f5.6 predecessor for digital SLR cameras, and about 750 grams lighter than Canon's equivalent RF 800mm f5.6 lens. That makes this lens quite hand-holdable, although your arms may still get a little tired after a while. Not only that, but at $6,500 it's actually quite a bargain. Nikon's old AFS 800mm lens for digital SLR cameras costs over 16 grand. I know this new Z mount lens has a very slightly darker aperture of f6.3, but the price difference is just unbelievable. I don't just love this camera lens on principle though, actually using it on my Nikon Z7 was a wonderful experience, although on that older camera the autofocus wasn't quite perfect, but the combination of getting wonderful, far-reaching images out of a lens that only weighs 2.5 kilos is seriously addictive. I love this new pattern of manufacturers reducing the size and weight of their super telephoto lenses. Now onto a lens that's probably my favourite focal length of all, 20mm on a full-frame camera. Perfect for an image that happily fits into dramatic ultra-wide angle territory while not being so wide that it's difficult to compose your image, or your subject is just pushed too far away from you. Sigma's original 20mm f1.4 art lens for digital SLR cameras was a wonderful lens, but it was big and heavy and couldn't accept front filters, which was a massive no-no for me. Well, this new version for mirrorless cameras fixes all of that while also being even sharper than before, and the fact it retains its wonderfully bright maximum aperture of f1.4 makes it a genius lens for any kind of wide-angle photography, especially astro work. The nice build quality of Sigma's art lenses is in there too. Gah, I seriously wish Canon would just let third-party manufacturers onto the RF system already. I am desperate for something like this to use on my EOS R5. Alright, finally, the newest lens on this list. If you want to know why I loved it so much, just take one look at my full review. Everything is simply perfect here with the newest version of Fuji's famous 56mm f1.2. Jaw-dropping, unbelievable sharpness, even on the ridiculously demanding 40 megapixel APS-C sensors of Fuji's latest cameras, gorgeous colours and contrast, beautiful out-of-focus backgrounds, a sexy design and lovely build quality. This is a dream lens for Fuji X-mount camera owners. I'll never forget my experience of using it on the lovely Fuji X-H2 camera they loaned to me for a couple of weeks. Every single picture I took just looked so beautiful, and the level of detail it was capturing just took my breath away. So, what about you? Have you ever handled or even owned a camera lens that made you fall in love with photography again? One that you just wanted to shoot with all day long and never put down? Do you have any pipe dream lenses that are so expensive you'll never be able to touch them, like I do, but still, you know it would be great fun to use? Well, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear all about it. But do remember, photography is not the most important thing in the world, and there are plenty of more exciting things to fall in love with out there. Check out my Patreon page and a link in the description below for extra bonus content for supporters. Ciao and God bless.